Have you ever found yourself in a situation, maybe at work, maybe in a relationship, and you suddenly look around and think, how on earth did I get here? It's like you're in a place that's slowly become unbearable. Well, we're about to break down a powerful old legend that explains exactly how that happens. It's a simple story, but trust me, the lesson it holds could completely change how you see things. So here's how the legend kicks off. Imagine a pot of water at a rolling boil. It's obviously dangerous, right? If you drop a frog into that water, what do you think happens? Bam! Its survival instincts kick in immediately. That sudden, intense shock is an unmistakable signal. Get out now. And it does. It jumps right out to save itself. But this is where the story takes a turn. And honestly, it gets a little dark. What if the danger wasn't so obvious? Picture that same frog, but this time it's placed in a pot of cool, comfortable water. It probably feels pretty nice, right? Safe. But then, bit by bit, almost imperceptibly, someone starts to turn up the heat. And this is how the trap works. It starts out totally fine, even comfortable. The temperature goes up 1 tiny degree. The frog's body just adjusts. No big deal. Then another degree, another tiny adjustment. None of these changes are big enough to set off any alarm bells. But with every little adjustment, the frog is slowly using up its energy, just trying to keep up. Until, by the time it finally realizes it's in real danger, it's just too exhausted to jump. It's too weak to save itself. So let's put it side by side, because this is the whole point of the story. The first frog, the one that faced sudden danger, it survives. The warning was loud and clear, and it acted. But the second frog, in the slowly warming water, it's in deep, deep trouble. Why? Because the danger was so sneaky, so gradual, it didn't even notice until it was too late. It's the slow burn that's the most dangerous. Okay, so a story about a frog. Who cares, right? Well, this is where the story stops being about a frog and starts being about, well, us. Because that slow, creeping danger is something we all face, a lot more often than we realize. That's the big reveal. We are the frog. We all find ourselves in situations where the water around us is slowly heating up, and we just adjust. A little more stress at work, a small compromise in a relationship. We tell ourselves, it's not that bad, or I can handle it, and we just keep adapting. And this isn't some abstract idea. It happens in the most important areas of our lives. Think about a job where the workload just keeps piling up, bit by bit, until you're completely burned out. Or a relationship where tiny little compromises slowly chip away at who you are. It even happens in friendships that gradually become totally one-sided and draining. So how does this actually happen? Why are we so bad at spotting this kind of thing? Let's dive into the psychology of it, because there's a real reason these situations are so good at sneaking up on us. The first thing to get is that nobody willingly jumps into a bad situation. Toxic jobs almost never seem toxic on day one. Problematic relationships don't usually wave red flags on the first date. The water is never boiling at the start. In fact, it's usually pretty comfortable and inviting. The real danger is just how subtle it all is. The changes are so small, so incremental, that we barely even register them. One extra task at work, one small passive-aggressive comment. By itself, each one seems too small to make a fuss about. So, what do? We just adapt. And this is where it gets really tricky, because the changes are so gradual. When we finally start feeling stressed or unhappy, who do we blame? We blame ourselves. We start thinking, maybe I'm overreacting, or maybe I'm just not strong enough to handle this. We start to doubt our own feelings instead of questioning the environment. And then it happens. One day, you just hit a wall. You wake up and realize you're exhausted, you're overwhelmed, you're just plain miserable. You're in boiling water. And because the journey there was so slow, it feels like it happened all at once, even though the warning signs were there the whole time. But this right here, is the most important takeaway of this whole thing. That feeling of discomfort, that stress, that little voice inside you saying something isn't right, that is not a weakness. That is your alarm system. It's the very first sign that the water's getting warmer, and it's screaming at you to pay attention. So when you realize the heat is rising, what do? You really have 2 choices. First, you can try to turn down the heat. That means tackling the problem head on. You talk about it, you set new boundaries, you try to change things. But if that doesn't work, or if it just isn't possible, you always have the second choice. Jump out. Leave the job. End the relationship. Step away from whatever is draining you. Ultimately, it all boils down to this. That feeling of discomfort you get from these slow, creeping changes, It's real, it's valid, and you should never, ever ignore it. Listening to that feeling is the key to protecting yourself. It's your signal that it's time to do something. So I want to leave you with this one question to really think about. What water in your life is slowly getting warmer? Is it your job, a relationship, your own mental health? Is there a pot you're sitting in right now that's getting a little too hot? Because just recognizing it, that's the first and most powerful step you can take.